Okay, let me tell you a little bit about BlueCross BlueShield of Tennessee. I don't think I have to tell you what we do because we are certainly a very recognizable name. I think annually we rank in the top 5 of brand recognition, so I don't have to tell you that. But we've been around a long time, not as long as Cigna, but they are certainly one of our staunch competitors in the state of Tennessee. I've been with the company, that's why I get to do the history, because I've been with the company about half of the history. So we've been around since 1945, and I've been with the company for 34 years. So I've lived a lot of this history. We are one of 36 independent Blue Cross plans. When I started, there were 65, so that tells you how many mergers that we've had. I think what you'll find surprising, not so much that we have 6,000 employees, which is surprising to me from where we began, but the fact that we have 28% of our employees that are telecommuters in 17 different states. And that just tells you what the war for talent is. So the reason we began this is we've all seen the research. We know that our employees are not satisfied, not just ours, but yours, are probably not satisfied with the career development that they see with any given organization. And that's probably why we have a lot of turnover within different organizations. We don't have a lot of turnover. We are one of the employers of choice in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So Chattanooga is not a big community, so that would explain why we are an employer of choice. But we did have an engagement survey, and we have wonderful results from our engagement survey. And just like they were talking earlier about the numbers don't always tell you anything. Even though our numbers were either at or above benchmark on the development statements in the engagement survey, the 4,000 comments that the employees wrote and that me and other members of senior leadership read told us that they wanted more around career development. So our CEO, who's a young man, he's been in the position about a year and a half, I think now, after he wanted to read all 4,000, which I'm like, surprise, the CEO wants to read all the comments. So he pulled together a work group. Gary was on the work group, me, some other members of senior leadership, and we all read the 4,000 comments. And after we talked about it, he looked at me and he said, we need a rotation program. And I'm thinking, I can't tell him that's not anything new. Because actually we had tried something like that probably 15 years ago. Again, you know, history repeats itself. When you've been around a long time, it just has a different bow on it. So, as any good CHRO would do, I turned to the right-hand person and said, you need to develop a job rotation program. But I will say, the reason that this one was so successful, and Gary's going to go into the logistics of all of this, was because we had the CEO commitment. When we tried it 15 years ago, we couldn't get people to participate in it because you've got to have the leadership at the top engaged in it, because when your CEO is asking me as CHRO, what division's not participating? I just kind of leaked that out to my cohorts. I told them I covered for them the first time. I said, it's still early, we've got time. But then I told them that I was covering for them and they needed to step up, and sure enough, they did. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gary and let him talk about it.
Okay, so were there major roadblocks? That would be a Tennessee hell yeah. So what were the roadblocks? The first thing, my staff came, they had a traditional job rotation program. It was 10 individuals, headcount we were going to hire. We were going to do selections and put these people into place. So when they presented it, Karen and I immediately went to the back page, and $1.1 million was going to be added to the budget. So some of you have heard about the ACA, right? Well, we're a major contributor to the ACA, let's just say that. So this was when that was going on, so we knew that we couldn't add $1 million to the program. So we had to think outside the box. How can we do this differently? So we decided to do a pilot program. So with this pilot program, how can you do it without adding headcount? So basically, the only thing you can do is to move people around. So we started a program where we had 11 people from a wide range of different areas of the company. Technology, from our clinical area, marketing, commercial, government, those areas. Getting the people on board were going to be different because they wanted this program to be 1 year. So taking someone out of their job for 1 year was another major roadblock. So we had to get the buy-in from the management. So what were the solutions? What I did, I went out to the directors of the area after we pulled some thoughts together. I pulled the directors from all of the areas and had them come and be part of the solution. I told them, poke holes in it. Tell me what's good, what's bad. So when you ask for something, you really get it, don't you? So I got a laundry list of suggestions. It was a lot of good suggestions, but the number one thing concern was that they were concerned that you're going to take my high-performing people for a year. That can't happen. So they suggested that we reduce that for a 6-month period of time. So we thought about that. Is that really going to provide us with enough experience for this to be worthwhile? The directors also had to make a commitment to participate in the program, to go back and look at their high potentials and allow them to participate in the pilot program. So we did have 11 in the program. We had a very successful, I guess the word would be adventure, I would say. It's not that we didn't have some bumps along the way. We measured our success through continuous improvement. What we did was, from the time that we started, we met with the individuals that were going through the programs. We met with the management and asked them to give us feedback. So, and then at the end of the 6 months, we got everybody together and said, how can we make this better? So again, it was through continuous feedback. So what we are doing now are tracking those individuals that went through the program to look on their movement through the company. So what are our next steps? For April, we're going to be starting our next program. We have 25 nominations that are going to be going through the program that are covering all areas of the company. We are now looking at a 6-month program. I can tell you the number one thing is not to be too rigid. I was determined it had to be 1 year. But with the 6-month program, it has worked out very well. Some of the people may even skip a session and go back again in order to get that full year. So the real thing that I've learned from this is flexibility. Some of the programs that they've told me, I have a project, but I can't guarantee that it will even be 6 months. I might do 4 months. If I have somebody I can match up to that, 4 months is good if they can get something out of it. So again, flexibility is the key thing if you're willing to put that time and effort in it and they can get something out of it. We've also learned that it's not just for the upper level or just for mid-management. We found out that our frontline supervisors, that's where they're really starting to show some development. So we want to encourage that. So we moved it down to a lower level as well. So for the future, we're also looking at how can we take our non-exempt and develop a program around them. So that's what our program is. I know we're out of time. For us in Tennessee, it's a little hard for 10 minutes, but I hope this tells you a little bit about what our program was and what we did. Thank you.